In today's thrift flip video, I'll be making over an item that I purchased from Goodwill bins, a thrift flip fail, one of my favorite items to thrift, something that already has embellishment on it, and even a drop cloth project. So let's get right into it, and I'm going to start with the fail. I've had this cutting board in my stash quite a while, and I have already sanded off the design that was on the front. To start this thrift flip, I need to make a stain. I take some dark brown paint, I water it down, I add some dark gray paint, I add a little more water until I get it the right consistency. And this project, I have two sides, so I'm going to be doing both sides. And for this first side, I got the stain too dark. Normally you just apply the stain and then you wipe it back with a soft cloth. Here I'm using a paper towel so that you can still see the grain underneath. But this side, I got it a little too dark. For the second side, I watered down the board first and then I applied the stain, and I didn't apply quite as much stain. And this side turned out much better. However, all that water really raised the grain of the wood, so I needed to give it a light sanding before I went on to step number 2. In this video, I have quite a few viewer comment suggestions, which I love. And in the past, I have not been able to get a chippy look when I was using milk paint. So I think a couple of people suggested using Vaseline first. Now here I've already applied the milk paint, I've let it dry, and now I'm taking this little tool, and wherever the Vaseline was, the paint is coming up. I'm definitely getting a chippy look, but I think I might have overdone it for my taste. You'll have to let me know. Do you like really chippy? I thought I would, but I'm not sure. But I'm going to keep going. I need to seal it, and then I'm going to apply some transfers. And you're probably way ahead of me, and you already know that the transfer will not adhere to the board where there was Vaseline, even though I sealed it. And here is the only part of that transfer that I was able to adhere to the cutting board. But I did not give up. I'm going to show you how it turned out, and then I'm going to tell you what I did. And I didn't film any of it because at the time I was so frustrated, I really didn't think I would be putting this in a video. But we all learn from mistakes because it literally took me all day. I would get a transfer down, or when I got a transfer down, I would seal it. I would let it dry, and then I would attempt another transfer, and then I would seal that, and I just kept going. And this is how it turned out. And I'm happy this is a two-sided project, so I get a redo on side 2. Now, I tried to be much more strategic with the Vaseline, but I think that's just the way you learn. You have to, well, that's the way I learn. I have to just trial and error it, and then I figure it out. And I think the next project I try with Vaseline, it will come out perfect. If that ever happens, perfection. And here's how side 2 turned out after I scraped off the paint. But I got a plan B, so I'm putting a little more Vaseline on just around the edges, and now I'm going to repaint it. So I've repainted it, I've let it dry, and I've scraped off the paint, and you can see how it looks. And now I'm going to apply a transfer once I figure out what is the top and what's the bottom of this transfer. And obviously, I'm not showing you the whole process, but oh my goodness, it went on so much better. So the key is to not use too much Vaseline. Don't get crazy with the Vaseline. I did go a little crazy on the burnishing because I didn't want anything to lift. Then I sanded it. And when you sand over a transfer, it just makes it look like it's been there forever. I sealed it in a matte finish, and here's how it turned out. Now, if you asked me, I would say I really love rustic stuff. The more rustic, the better, but I am kind of leaning towards this side, so you'll have to let me know which side you like better. Now, when I was showing Michael, I showed him this side first, and then I showed him this side, and he loved this side, so I don't know. Maybe I'm too close to it. You'll have to let me know what you think. For my next thrift flip, I'm going to start with the inspiration picture for a project from my last video, where I used the wood from some vanity bathroom lighting to make a tray. Because I never thought I would thrift a sugar mold. And as soon as I finished that project, I thrifted a sugar mold. Now, the one I thrifted is not nearly as long as the one in my inspiration picture, but that's okay. I was just thrilled to find it. Here's what it looks like after I washed it, and I'm just giving it a light sanding because it was pretty rough. The next thing I did was apply Howard Feed and Wax. It's a wood polish and conditioner, and this wood was so dry, I just felt like it needed something. I just learned about this product, so I need to give a shout out to Crystal from the Crafty Creech YouTube channel. There were so many nice comments on my last video and great suggestions, and someone suggested, why didn't I put carrots in those little holes that would look so cute instead of the eggs? Now, I don't want to use their name because they might be mortified if I use their name. So if you ever leave a comment and you're okay if I use your name, I don't know how you could give me a clue. But anyway, I'm making fabric carrots out of one of my favorite fabrics, drop cloth. And these were super simple to make. I just sewed around the edges, leaving the top open so that I could put some stuffing in because I'm okay with that raw edge on the outside. I kind of like that look. Here I'm just fraying the edge a little bit more. And now I'm going to paint them with the homemade chalk paint that I made in my last video. And I made a total of 3 carrots. And a couple of viewers suggested putting Vaseline around the rim of the jar, and it will make it easier to open next time. So that's what I'm trying to do with all my paints as I use them. Next, I used some stuffing beads, which was a tip from a viewer in one of my Christmas videos. In that video, I was trying to get polyfill into the tip of a Christmas tree, and I couldn't get it in there well. So she suggested using these beads, and this is the first time I'm using them. I'm putting the beads just in the bottom of the carrot, and then I'm filling it with the polyfill. But I needed to leave that opening a little bigger because I've got fat fingers. So I did have a little trouble getting that stuffing in there. I added some greenery, and then I closed it up with some hot glue. I had these wooden carrots from one of my first videos, and they needed an update, so I sanded them down a little and I added some Waverly antiquing wax. And here's how my sugar mold with the viewer-suggested carrots turned out. You'll have to let me know what you think. And just know, if you make a suggestion, it might be in one of my future videos, and I love that. For my next thrift flip, I have thrifted this wooden box. It's actually something that you hang on the wall, and it has this pretty detail on the top of the box. Someone had already painted it in a chalk paint, so this doesn't need a whole lot of work. I'll be painting it in Wise Owl Chalk Synthesis paint in the color Dried Thyme. I'll be using this box in my office. I work from home, and I need a place to put things that are checks that are going out, mail, all those kind of things, and I need them off my desk. Once the outside was dry, I flipped it over and I painted all of the inside. Because I was using a chalk paint, I needed to seal it, so I sealed it in the matte finish. I have really enjoyed using this Fusion antiquing glaze. I feel like I have a little more control than when I use a dark wax, but a dark wax would work fine here as well. For the application of the glaze, you just apply the glaze and then you wipe it back with a soft cloth. Now here I changed my direction a little bit. I decided that I'd better apply the transfers first before I did the glaze over the rest of the project. Even though I sell Redesigned by Prima, I still love IOD. How can you not love IOD? And I'm really trying to use what I have in my stash. So this is a transfer. This transfer is pretty old. It was still in a tube, so you know it's old. I went on Etsy to see if I could find one, and I did. It's retired. They said it's rare, and they wanted $80 for it. And I have two. What's nice with an IOD transfer is you can really see a difference in the transfer as it is adhering to your project. The next transfer I'll be using is a Redesigned by Prima transfer, and it's called Butterfly Oasis, and it has all these beautiful butterflies, so I'll be adding a few to the front. I apply a layer of the sealer over the transfers. And now I'll apply the antiquing glaze over the rest of the box. And here's how it turned out. I do love finding things at the thrift store that already have an embellishment on them, but I'd love to know what you think. My next thrift flip is a Goodwill bins find. I thought it was just too cute to leave behind, and I only need to add some more flowers. But of course I didn't have any, so I ran to Michael's. Fortunately, they were on sale. And the first thing I like to do when I'm doing some kind of floral arranging is to cut all the floral stems apart. I think you get way more bang for your buck when you cut them apart and you get to place them where you want them when they're not attached to that big stem. When I cut them apart, I like to sort them by the type of flower or by the size of the flower, depending on the arrangement. The top of the basket, now it's not going to be seen, but it's not looking so great, so I fill it with Spanish moss. And I do this out in the garage because we all know Spanish moss is so messy, and I'm trying to keep the mess off my craft table. And I used hot glue to secure the moss. And whenever I do floral arranging, I use the same formula. What I put on the right, I put on the left. What I put in the front, I put in the back. However, this basket had an obvious back, so I really only needed to be concerned about the right and the left and keeping my flowers, the height in balance and the color choices in balance. And I'm sure there are real formulas that you use for floral arranging, but this is what works for me. I think it looks good. It's simple, so hopefully I'll inspire you to give it a try. Now I'm going to speed up the video so you can see the back and forth. And here's how my Goodwill bins floral arrangement turned out. I think it looks pretty springy, but you'll have to let me know what you think. I'm kind of a sucker for pink. And my sister-in-law brought me over that little bunny from Walmart, and so I thought, well, for Easter, I'll just stick it in here. And here's a recap of all the projects from today's video. You'll have to let me know, do you have a favorite? Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you next time.